Bro, the internet is not just reacting right now, it's on edge. Because what just happened between King Harris and 50 Cent isn't normal rap drama. This isn't a diss track. This isn't clout chasing. This is the kind of line you don't cross. And King didn't just cross it, he sprinted over it. It all happened fast, too fast. One moment, King was online, loud as usual, talking his talk, standing on what he calls business. The next moment, he said something that made the entire internet go quiet. Not angry, not laughing, quiet. Because when King told 50 Cent to post his mother's grave, people didn't hear disrespect. They heard danger. See, everybody in hip-hop, old heads, new artists, even fans, knows one unspoken rule. You don't bring up 50 Cent's mother. Ever. For those who don't understand the weight of that, you have to go back. 50 Cent didn't just grow up in struggle, he grew up in trauma. His mother, Sabrina Jackson, was murdered when he was a child. That loss didn't just shape him, it defined him. It's in his music. It's in his mindset. It's in how he moves. That pain is something he's carried his entire life, and it's something he has never allowed anyone to play with. Not rappers, not rivals, not industry legends. Nobody. And King Harris, he said it on camera, smiling, like it was just another clapback. That's why the reaction wasn't just outrage, it was disbelief. People were literally saying, he doesn't know what he just did. Because this isn't about winning an argument. This is about provoking one of the most calculated, patient, and ruthless figures hip-hop has ever seen. 50 Cent doesn't just respond. He waits. He plots. And when he moves, it's strategic, embarrassing, and permanent. So now the question is, why did King say it? The real question is, how did he get here? Because this moment didn't come out of nowhere. This was building for years. From the day King Harris was born, his life was already decided for him in the eyes of the world. He wasn't just a kid. He was T.I.'s son. And that comes with weight. Real weight. Because T.I. didn't just build a career, he built a reputation. One forged in the streets, sharpened in the industry, and tested through real-life consequences. That's a legacy you don't just inherit. That's a legacy you have to live up to. But King didn't want to live up to it. He wanted to recreate it. That's where the conflict started. Because King grew up in a completely different reality. Luxury homes, security, TV cameras, especially on shows like T.I. and Tiny, The Family Hustle. Fame before he even understood what fame meant. To the world, he had everything. But internally, there was a disconnect. Because no matter how much he had, people didn't respect him the way they respected his father. Not in the streets, not in the culture, not in the way King wanted. So he tried to force it. He got louder, more aggressive, more confrontational. Every live stream turned into a performance. Every argument turned into a moment. Every situation became an opportunity to prove he was just a celebrity kid. But instead of earning respect, he created doubt. People started seeing a pattern. The Waffle House incident, the arguments with his parents, the viral clips of him yelling, threatening, crashing out over small things, even run-ins with law enforcement. It didn't look like strength. It looked like someone trying too hard. And the person who saw it most clearly, his father, T.I. wasn't blind to it. He tried to guide him, tried to slow him down, tried to explain that the life King was trying to imitate comes with consequences. Real ones. Legal, physical, permanent. But King didn't want guidance. He wanted validation. He didn't want to be told how to move. He wanted to prove he already knew. So when 50 Cent posted that picture of Tameka Tiny Harris, that was the spark. To most people, it was just trolling. 50 doing what 50 does. But to King, it was opportunity. This was his moment to defend his mother, to show loyalty, to show toughness, to prove to himself more than anyone that he's not someone to play with. And instead of handling it like his father, he went nuclear, because T.I. responded the way veterans do. Controlled, measured, strategic. He didn't escalate, because he understands something King doesn't. Not every fight is meant to be fought publicly. But King, he saw restraint as weakness. So he stepped in. And in one sentence, he changed everything. Because bringing up 50 Cent's mother isn't just disrespect. It's personal war territory. The kind that doesn't stay online. The kind that doesn't end with tweets. And that's why people are genuinely worried. Not entertained. Not amused. Worried. Because now this isn't just about King anymore. This touches his family, his father's legacy, his future. People are asking questions that didn't exist before. Did King just put himself in a situation even T.I. can't control? Did he provoke someone who doesn't play by industry rules? Is this about to go beyond social media? And the most uncomfortable question of all, does King even understand what he just started? Because from the outside, it doesn't look like strategy. It looks like emotion, impulse, insecurity wrapped in confidence. A young man trying to prove he's something the world hasn't accepted yet. By challenging someone who built his reputation, destroying people who tried the same thing. And now, the entire internet is watching, waiting, not for what King says next, but for what 50 Cent does. Because history has already shown one thing. When 50 Cent decides to respond, it's never random, it's never rushed, and it's never small. So this moment, it might look like just another viral clip, but it feels like something else. A turning point, a line crossed, a situation that might not be fixable with apologies, money, or influence. And if that's true, then this isn't just King Harris trying to prove himself anymore. This is King Harris stepping into a world his father spent years trying to protect him from. And now that he's in it, there's only one question left. Is he ready for what comes next, or did he just open a door he can't close? The internet didn't just panic when that claim surfaced, it tilted. Because suddenly this wasn't just another celebrity rant clip floating around social media. This had turned into something far more dangerous, a situation where every move, every word, and every frame of footage could be used, stored, and replayed by someone who never forgets disrespect. And at the center of it all, King Harris. The same young man who, just moments earlier in the timeline of this chaos, was pacing in front of a camera, breathing heavy, eyes sharp with emotion, letting frustration boil over until it spilled into something nobody could take back. His energy wasn't playful. It wasn't performative. It was the kind of raw emotional explosion that makes people online stop scrolling without realizing why. Then came the line. Not just any insult, not just typical rap beef talk, but something far more personal, something that hit a nerve the entire culture knows is off limits. And once those words left his mouth, the atmosphere changed instantly. It didn't feel like entertainment anymore. It felt like a turning point. Comments stopped joking. Replies stopped laughing. Even people who usually hype drama started writing the same thing in different ways. This is too far. Because everyone understands one unspoken rule in this world. Some lines, once crossed, don't come back. But what made things worse wasn't just what was said. It was how King said it. There was no hesitation, no fear in his voice, no realization mid-sentence that he might be going too far. It came out like frustration that had been building for a long time and finally broke loose in the worst possible way. And that's when the internet started doing what it always does best, digging. Old clips resurfaced. Past arguments got rewatched. Every live session King ever did suddenly became evidence in the court of public opinion. People started trying to piece together a narrative, as if understanding the why could somehow soften the impact of what had just happened. But the more they looked, the messier it got. Because King wasn't new to controversy. He had been here before, smaller moments, heated exchanges, online arguments that always seemed to escalate faster than expected. Each incident by itself looked minor, but stacked together, they painted a pattern of someone constantly walking the edge of impulse and emotion. And that's what worried people most. Not just the disrespect, but the direction. Behind the scenes, according to the narrative being built online, there was another layer unfolding. People close to the situation, unnamed, unverified but constantly referenced in whispers across blogs and comment sections, suggested that attempts were made to calm things down immediately. Calls allegedly went out, messages were sent, family tried to step in. But none of it stuck. King, in that moment, wasn't listening to advice. He wasn't processing consequences. He was locked into emotion, the kind that makes everything feel justified in real time, even if it destroys everything later. And that's where the silence from the other side became just as loud. Because while the internet exploded with reactions, predictions, and warnings, the figure at the center of the disrespect didn't respond immediately. No rant, no livestream clapback, no emotional reaction posted in the heat of the moment. Just silence. And in the world of hip-hop, silence from someone known for calculated responses doesn't feel peaceful. It feels like strategy. That's when speculation went into overdrive. People started analyzing patterns from the past, studying how long it usually takes for responses to land, and what form they take when they finally do. Some said nothing would age. Others said everything already had. Meanwhile, King kept moving like the storm around him wasn't real. Another live, another statement, another moment where confidence and defiance blurred into something closer to denial. "I'm not scared," he reportedly said at one point, leaning into the camera with a half-smirk, as if daring the situation to escalate further. That line alone reignited everything. Because confidence is one thing, but confidence in the middle of consequences is something else entirely. And that's when the story shifted again, away from just words and reactions, and into something deeper. A rumor surfaced that there was more footage, longer footage, uncut moments that didn't make it into the viral clips circulating online. At first, people dismissed it as internet noise, the usual hype cycle that surrounds every viral controversy. But then a claim followed that changed the tone completely. Someone was allegedly trying to sell the full version. Not leak it, sell it. And that detail changed everything. Because it meant this wasn't just spontaneous drama anymore. It suggested planning, recording, awareness. Someone somewhere had been close enough to capture more than what the public had seen and saw value in holding it back. Now the questions multiplied. Who recorded it? Who was present? Who stood close enough to document the moment instead of stopping it? And most importantly, why? But before those answers could even begin forming, another claim dropped into the chaos like gasoline on fire. The footage, or at least a version of it, had allegedly already been acquired by someone powerful enough to reshape the narrative entirely. And that's when the panic really started. Because if the most dangerous part of a situation is what was said, but what was saved, then the story is no longer about a mistake in the moment. It becomes about control after the moment. And now the internet isn't just watching a feud anymore. It's watching a ticking timeline of consequences, waiting to see who moves next and who moves first. Because at this point, everyone understands one thing clearly. This situation didn't end when the video stopped. It only started. You're finished. And 50 Cent didn't even need a long response to make it worse. He didn't argue. He didn't explain. He didn't jump on a live or fire off a paragraph full of insults. He just posted one image. A quiet, almost calm photo. His mother standing strong, composed, powerful in a way that didn't need captions to be understood. But the caption he added changed everything. Say her name again. That was it. No emojis, no jokes, no extra context. Just those 4 words sitting under a picture that carried more weight than any diss track ever could. And instantly, the entire internet shifted. Not louder, quieter. Because people didn't know how to react anymore. This wasn't entertainment now. It wasn't celebrity beef. It wasn't even content. It felt like a warning delivered without shouting. Even those who never supported 50 Cent found themselves pausing for a second, because everyone understands one thing about him. When it becomes personal, he doesn't escalate emotionally. He escalates strategically. And that's what made King Harris's situation suddenly feel different. Not bigger, more dangerous. But just when people thought the story had already hit its peak, it cracked open again. A second twist dropped into the chaos like a match into gasoline. The footage everyone had been talking about, the viral rant, the clips, the edited breakdowns, wasn't held by just one buyer. Someone else had it too. Not a blogger, not a fan page, not even a media outlet trying to chase clicks. A second buyer. And this one wasn't random. This was someone with a known history of tension around T's world. Someone with long-standing issues buried deep in the Atlanta scene. Someone who didn't just collect content, but collected leverage. And that changed everything. Because now there weren't just opinions floating around online. There were 2 separate power holders sitting on the same explosive material. 2 different agendas. 2 different timelines. 2 different ways this could all collapse. One copy in the hands of 50 Cent, a man known for patience, calculation, and public destruction through timing. And another copy in the hands of someone tied closer to T's orbit, someone who didn't need global attention to cause damage. They only needed timing. That's when the question stopped being about King and started becoming about survival. Inside the Harris household, the atmosphere reportedly shifted the moment T saw how fast things escalated. According to people close to the situation, he wasn't loud. He wasn't reacting like the internet expected. He was pacing, quiet, focused, replaying everything in his head, and repeating one sentence under his breath. They using my son. Because T understands this ecosystem better than almost anyone. He's live. D through it. The cameras, the setups, the edited narratives, the way a moment can be turned into a weapon overnight. But what made this different was that this time it wasn't just industry pressure. It was his own son at the center of it. A son who didn't fully understand the weight of the world he was stepping into. While T was trying to process damage control, King was still online. Still talking. Still reacting like the situation was something he could outspeak. He posted again. No hesitation. No awareness of what was unfolding behind him. And every time he spoke, the internet's reaction got sharper. Because now people weren't just watching the original clip. They were watching the consequences stack in real time. Then came the detail that changed the tone of everything. The seller of the footage finally confirmed something that made blogs go silent for a moment. 50 Cent was the first buyer. Not after the chaos started. Not after it went viral. Immediately. Within hours of the clip surfacing. Which meant one thing. He wasn't reacting. He was already moving. And in 50 Cent's world, that difference matters more than anything. Because reacting is emotional. But buying footage, that's control. That's ownership. That's preparation. And while people were still laughing, arguing, and debating online, he was already holding the full version of the moment everyone else was only guessing about. But the second buyer created an even darker layer. The seller hinted that this one didn't come from New York, didn't come from media, didn't come from fan culture. It came from Atlanta, which immediately shifted the entire conversation. Because now it wasn't just industry curiosity. It was personal geography. Someone local, someone connected, someone who understands T's world from the inside. And suddenly, every name in the Atlanta scene became part of the investigation. Old rivals, former collaborators, industry figures T had fallen out with over the years. People who smiled publicly but carried old resentment privately. The internet did what it always does. It filled the silence with theories. Meanwhile, King kept posting like nothing had changed, mocking concern, dismissing warnings, laughing at the idea that anything serious could come from what he said. But the comments under his posts were no longer playful. They were warnings, not from fans, from people who understood what happens when silence ends and action begins. Because 50 Cent had still not responded. And in his history, silence has never meant peace. It has always meant preparation. Then another post appeared, from a completely different corner of the industry. Rick Ross dropped a cryptic message. A lion doesn't roar until it's ready to bite. Boosie went live urging him to stop playing with fire. Even radio hosts began dissecting the situation like it was no longer entertainment, but a case study in self-destruction. And still, King didn't step back. That's what made everyone uncomfortable. Not the insult, not the beef, but the fact that he didn't seem to realize the difference between online energy and real-world consequence. Because 50 Cent doesn't play reaction games. He plays outcome games. And now, with footage in his possession, silence on one end, and another unknown holder in Atlanta sitting on the same material, the situation wasn't building toward a response anymore. It was building toward an event. And everyone watching could feel it. This wasn't the climax. It was the countdown. And the scariest part, most of the damage hadn't even started yet. By this point, the internet wasn't watching a controversy anymore. It was watching a countdown. Because when that new post dropped, the one with a simple chessboard image, everything shifted again. No explanation, no context, just a clean, silent picture of a chessboard positioned mid-game. And the caption King Harris allegedly added underneath it. Say it again. That's when people stopped calling it a rant. Stopped calling it a mistake. Stopped calling it young energy. Now it looked intentional. Calculated. Like a challenge being sent without saying a word directly. And the timing made it worse. Because it came right after 50 Cent's post. The one that didn't insult, didn't threaten, didn't explain. Just a photo of his mother. Strong still, untouched by time in the way memory preserves pain. With one line underneath. Say her name again. That was the moment the temperature of the entire situation dropped. Not because it was calm, but because everyone understood what it meant. This wasn't social media anymore. This was personal history being pulled into public conflict. And when something becomes personal for 50 Cent, it stops being entertainment. It becomes strategy. Inside the Harris camp, tension reportedly escalated instantly. Sources close to the situation described T as moving differently, not loud, not reactive, but visibly locked into concern. He wasn't angry in the traditional NSC. He was alert. The kind of silence that comes when a father realizes the internet is no longer just talking about his son. It's studying him. And then came the next shockwave. A second version of the footage. Not a rumor this time. A confirmed existence. According to the seller, there was more than what the public had seen. A longer cut, an unedited version of King's outburst that never made it to the viral clips. And the reason it wasn't released? Because it changed the weight of everything. The seller allegedly admitted something chilling. They didn't upload the part that would trend. They held back the part that would break people. That detail alone sent the internet into overdrive. Because suddenly the conversation was, what did he say? It became, what did they cut out? And that question opened a new level of fear. Whispers started circulating across blogs and comment sections. Not confirmed, not verified, but enough to shake the narrative. That in the uncut version, King didn't just disrespect 50 Cent. He allegedly crossed into territory involving T himself. And that changed everything. Because disrespecting an enemy is one thing, but crossing into a father-son dynamic, that hits differently. That doesn't create beef. That creates emotional damage that doesn't resolve with time or apology. And that's exactly why people started saying, if this version drops, it won't just be a viral moment. It'll be irreversible. Meanwhile, King remained active online. Still posting, still responding, still acting like the situation was something he could outtalk. But the internet wasn't laughing anymore. Comments turned colder, shorter, more direct. You don't understand what you just did. 50 isn't responding because he's thinking. You didn't win anything. And then came the detail that made everything worse. The seller confirmed 50 Cent was the first buyer of the footage. Not a day later. Not after the trend peaked. Within hours. That detail reframed everything instantly. Because it meant one thing. He didn't react to the situation. He acquired it. And in 50 Cent's world, that difference is everything. Reacting is emotion. Buying is control. And control means he gets to decide when and how the story moves next. Then came the second buyer. And this is where panic really set in. Because the second buyer wasn't entertainment media, wasn't a fan page, wasn't even a blogger chasing clicks. It was someone tied to Atlanta, someone connected, someone who, according to leaks, had long-standing tension within T's extended professional circle. And now they had the same footage. 2 copies, 2 different intentions, 2 separate timelines of destruction waiting to unfold. One controlled by patience, the other by unpredictability. And nobody knew which one would drop first. That uncertainty alone turned the internet into a pressure cooker. Meanwhile, King continued posting like none of it mattered. Mocking concern, dismissing warnings, even laughing at the idea that the situation was serious. But the tone around him had changed completely. He wasn't being seen as confident anymore. He was being seen as unaware. And that's a dangerous place to be when your actions are already recorded, archived, and owned by people who don't need your permission to release them. Then came the industry reaction wave. Rick Ross posted a cryptic warning. Boosie went live saying the situation was getting out of hand. DJ Drama commented that some lessons come too late. Even smaller artists started weighing in, not to take sides, but to acknowledge something uncomfortable. This wasn't normal celebrity drama anymore. It was turning into a cautionary case study. A moment where emotion, ego, and internet culture collided with real-world consequences. And still, 50 Cent remained silent. No response, no rant, no explanation, just silence, which in his history has never meant nothing. Silence from him has always meant planning. And then Tony Yeo appeared on livestream, casually holding a cigar, and said something that changed how people interpreted everything. If 50 moves, it's calculated. He don't beef emotional, he beef strategic. That line spread instantly, because it confirmed what many already feared. Nothing about this situation was random anymore. Everything was being measured, including King's mistakes. Inside T's world, the pressure was now visible even without public statements. He wasn't engaging online. He wasn't feeding the narrative. But people close to the situation described him as locked into one concern: damage control. Not for himself, for his son. Because this wasn't just about a clip anymore. It wasn't just about disrespect. It was about timing. Who has the footage? Who controls it? And when it drops? Because everyone now understands one truth. The most dangerous moment in a situation like this isn't the explosion. It's the silence right before it. And right now, the silence is getting louder. T is trying to find the buyer of the second video. T is trying to stop the leak. But by now, it's already bigger than control. It's already bigger than damage control. It's moving on its own, like a fire that already spread before anyone noticed the smoke. And then a message drops anonymously to a blog page. 3 words that change the tone of everything. Tip cried alone. That line hits the internet like a shutdown. Not a rumor, not a meme, a pause. Because suddenly this isn't celebrity drama anymore. It's a father and son situation collapsing in public view. The same man who survived federal scrutiny, the same man who built an empire from chaos, the same man who always looked unshakable, allegedly broke down behind closed doors. Not because of enemies, not because of industry politics, because of King. And the internet reacts instantly. This is deeper than rap. Money can't fix that kind of pain. Imagine your own child being used as ammo against you. But the internet never stays unified for long. A second wave rises immediately. T created this. He let King talk like that for years. This is the result of no discipline. Now the narrative splits. No more clear victim, no clear villain. Just a collapsing family being analyzed like a case file. Meanwhile, the second buyer of the footage stays invisible. And that invisibility is what makes everything worse. Because now people aren't just reacting, they're hunting. Old names start getting dragged into the conversation like evidence boards. Who has a grudge against T? Who benefits from humiliating the Harris family? Who would pay for something like this instead of leaking it? Atlanta becomes the center of speculation. Former collaborators, industry rivals, producers from old eras, promoters who felt cut off, even random names start floating with zero proof, just vibes and resentment. It turns into a digital witch hunt. And while everyone is guessing, King Harris stays silent. That silence doesn't calm anything. It escalates it. Blogs start posting theories like, King has been told to go quiet. His phone is taken. He's being protected from himself. But nobody knows. That's the problem. The absence of information becomes more dangerous than the information itself. Then a post appears from a burner account. The full video drops Friday. No proof, no source, just certainty. And that's all it takes. The internet explodes again. Which version? Who has it? Is T prepared for this? Because now it's no longer about a clip. It's about timing, about when everything collapses publicly at once. And beneath all of this noise is the real fear nobody says out loud. What exactly did King say that hasn't been heard yet? Not the 50-cent line, not the viral moment. The part that didn't make the cut. Inside T's circle, panic starts shifting from confusion to urgency. Because eventually, someone leaks a truth no one wanted public. T has seen the full version. Not through media, not through blogs, through a private link sent by someone inside the situation. And when he watches it, he doesn't react immediately. A source describes it simply. He just sat there, didn't speak, didn't move. Because it's not the loud part that breaks him. It's what comes after. Something personal, something about him. Something King said without realizing how heavy it would land. And T immediately gives one instruction. Do not let this reach the internet. But that request might already be too late. Because 50 Cent has seen it too. And so has the second buyer. Which means control is gone. Now there are multiple versions of the truth existing at the same time. The public sees fragments. The insiders see everything. And nobody is seeing the same story. That's when the most dangerous realization hits. This is no longer a beef. This is leverage. Because if the clip drops in full, it doesn't just embarrass King. It fractures relationships. It changes how people see T. It becomes emotional ammunition that can't be wrapped out, explained, or cleaned up. And that's what makes it irreversible. Then a new leak appears, this time from someone claiming to be close to the seller. A disturbing detail spreads. There are multiple versions of the footage. The viral one was edited. The real one includes a segment nobody has seen publicly. A segment involving King and T directly. Not insults for 50. Not rage for clout. Something personal, something family-related, something that insiders refuse to repeat word for word. And that's when the panic becomes global. Because now even fans who were laughing earlier stop laughing. Now they're asking, what did he say about his father? And nobody answers that properly. Because nobody wants to be responsible for repeating it. Meanwhile, 50 Cent breaks his silence in the most unsettling way possible. Not a diss. Not a caption. Just an Instagram story. A folder icon. Labeled Harris Files. No explanation. No context. Just implication. And that's worse than word. Because it confirms one thing. He has it. Or he has access to it. Or he's about to use it. The internet immediately zooms in on the image. And that's when another detail is noticed. Inside the blurred list beneath the folder title, there's a second file. Video 2, King vs. The second name is censored. But it's long, 2 syllables, familiar enough that people start guessing instantly. A person. A rival. Maybe even the mystery ATL buyer himself. And now a terrifying theory forms online. What if the second video isn't just more footage? What if it's confrontation? What if it shows King in a completely different argument, with someone powerful enough to shift the entire narrative. Because that changes everything. It means this wasn't one mistake. It was multiple layers of conflict happening around the same moment. And King may not even know who all was involved. Back in real time, T is reportedly trying to identify the second buyer through private contacts. But it's moving too fast. Every attempt to control the situation just exposes another crack. And King, still silent, still online in fragments, still not understanding that silence is no longer protection, it's anticipation. Because the internet is no longer asking what happened. It's asking when everything drops, and who gets destroyed first when it does. The fear is no longer about reputation. It's about exposure. Full exposure. Not just of King, but of everyone connected to him. And that's when the story shifts completely. Because now there are no spectators left. Only people waiting for impact. He may be about to learn the hardest lesson of his life. Because some mistakes don't fade, some words can't be erased, and some enemies don't react immediately. They wait for you to destroy yourself. And if you're still here after everything that just unfolded, then you already see what the rest of the internet is slowly realizing. This story isn't over. It's only escalating. The uncut footage exists. Multiple people have access to it. T has reportedly seen it. 50 Cent is said to have a copy saved. And somewhere in Atlanta, a mystery buyer is sitting on another version, waiting for the exact moment to drop it. Nothing has fully leaked yet, but the countdown has already started. And when it does drop, it won't just be a viral clip. It'll be a cultural shockwave that pulls everyone into the fallout. So now the real question is simple. Was King set up, or did he destroy himself? Can T still protect him, or is it already too late? And who is the second ATL buyer holding the most dangerous version of this footage? Because the next chapter won't just add answers, it will expose everything people thought was hidden. Part 2 isn't coming. It's already in motion.